What was the incident in your high school? One of the students ditched high school one day and rode his dirt bike really fast in front of the school, popping a wheelie while the school was still in session. He wiped out and slid and hit his head on a light pole and died right in front of the school across the street. Really sad and super crazy. Damn. Pretty close to mine. Dude popped a wheelie on his crotch rocket hauling ass across the parking lot before school one morning, when a girl backed her car out and he hit it, launching him a solid 30 yards. Hit another car head first and died in the ambulance. The other high school that opened after I graduated had 2 kids murdered by fellow students in 2 separate incidents within a year, and another kid beat a guy to death with a hammer. Must be something in the water on that side of town. Edit, to answer some questions, no, not Derry, Maine, haha, just a middle-class suburb in Texas. It was really laid back and low crime when I was going to school. The kid on the motorcycle was the talk of the town for a long time. If I'm not mistaken, both of the kids that got murdered were over a girl, and the kid with the hammer was drunk and part of a big group of other people that participated. When I was in high school, our Hicktown school had a gang called the Cobras who would spray paint cobras on school property, write it on desks, in the bathrooms, basically everywhere. It was dumb and many of the students had a good idea who was a part of this gang, but the teachers didn't. The principal would call down groups for photos in the yearbook, siblings, sports teams, drama club, etc., on overhead announcements, and one day they called down the Cobras for a school photo for the yearbook, to try and figure out who they were. They caught almost half the students who were defacing school property because they showed up for the group photo. Edit, no, they didn't get a photo in the yearbook. Principal found weed in the boys' bathroom. Called an assembly and told us we had to vote for who we think it was. I think the principal's son got like 98% of the votes. Suddenly the voting system wasn't valid. We didn't even coordinate it, everyone had the same idea at once and it was glorious. The son of my high school's school resource officer was the school drug dealer. My brother let him cheat off of his math tests for a discount on drugs. Senior year we received our yearbooks the week of graduation, and to our surprise the full-page action shot for men's soccer showcased our player jumping up and lifting one leg to trap and control the ball. Unfortunately, he forgot to wear underwear that game and the tip of his wiener was fully visible sticking out of the bottom of his shorts. Our school had over 4,000 students and we were required to bring our yearbook into security to have the dick sharpied over, or we would not be able to walk at graduation. The image of school admins having to sharpie in the same penis 4,000 times is gold. There had been rumors since my freshman year about the assistant principal taking a certain special interest in a few of the girls. Almost everyone wrote it off as high school kids starting stupid rumors. Until my senior year. When 4 police officers came in after school and walked him out in cuffs in front of a few hundred students watching a basketball game against another school. He was fucking one of the girls in my grade and selling her oxycodone in the hallways. Got 10 years. My photography teacher fell in love with me at first sight when I was 13. He was the only adult I trusted because my family was abusive, more or less as badly as you think. I talked to him on the phone every night and he was maybe the person I trusted most outside my siblings. My parents were sort of setting me up with him when I was 15. As soon as I reached the age of consent where we lived, well, that went great. After a while of suicidal depression I reported him to the school. He got fired but suffered no other repercussions. He was the most popular teacher in the school and almost all of my friends turned on me along with the rest of the students. Some wanted to contact me later and apologize but I refused to talk to any of them. I hated senior year. Teenagers must be protected from themselves, goddammit. 3 years ago, in my sophomore year, the middle school counselor revealed he was in love with me. In my 16 to 17-year-old mind, I thought it was okay. He invited me multiple times to his house to smoke good weed and watch movies. I always backed out because something didn't feel quite right. That's when an adult should have protected me. It got to the point he sent me nudes and shit. To this day, I never reported him, but I wonder if I'm putting other teenagers at risk when he is still a school counselor. We had a teacher who was super nice. She was out for 3 days and we didn't question it much until she wasn't there again for the next week. Turns out her husband murdered her quite brutally. Was so quiet the next few months for that class we didn't really know how to process it. He's in prison and kids with the grandparents last I read. Quite sad. We were all called to an emergency assembly and told a student had died. Her friends were distraught and even the people who didn't know her went quiet. I think I remember a group of students putting together a type of memorial card. The whole morning was morbid. Until the dead girl arrived at school and didn't know what was going on. During my sophomore year of high school I was on spring break with my family and we went out of state to a condo for the week. Great trip, I recommend Virginia to anyone looking for a scenic getaway. When we got back from that vacation and I went to school the next Monday, everyone was staring at me like they saw a ghost. I was an introvert in a public school of about 1,200 kids, so it was unnerving. I had girls and guys running up and hugging me, saying they were so glad I was okay. Many of them I didn't really talk to. I was so confused. Come to find out, in the next town over there was a kid who was struck by a car and killed while we were gone on spring break. His name was identical to mine, except for one letter in his last name. So everyone who saw it naturally assumed they spelled the name wrong because that spelling was a very common mistake with my name. I wouldn't call it the incident for my school, but that day was very memorable and I had to share when I saw your similar story. Mine was strange. Kid of divorce, so I always left town to hang W-Pops all summer. One year I left town a couple days before the school year ended because of some family reunion trip. Came back at the end of summer to a bizarre rumored mythology about me. Apparently, unbeknownst to me, I had spent the summer in jail for a violent assault charge as far as everyone in the school was concerned. I was 14 and weighed maybe 80 pounds, but I was the new resident badass at school somehow. Kids are weird. I was a teacher and a very good kid, just got pushed to his limit by a bully teacher, had been bullied by this guy for a couple of years, never did find out what was up with that. So the bully teacher says something to the kid, he runs out to his car, grabs a crowbar and comes in smashing all the glass he encountered. It was safety glass but lots of shards anyway. Tries to go after the teacher to kill him. He got trapped in the library. The classroom was located in a small classroom off the library, and I was right next door, keeping kids in their seats and unable to go to the bathroom for about 90 minutes. Cops began arriving from all directions since we were right off 2 state highways. State cops, canine cops, etc. Kid destroyed all the beautiful 1940s oak shelving, teacher's desk, anything that would break. His mom shows up and disarms him. Kid gets slammed on a stretcher and hauled off to the nearby AFB, where his dad worked. Not sure exactly what all happened there, but he got a lifetime ban from being at the high school and a serious restraining order from ever contacting or being near the bully teacher. I liked the kid, never had once a tiny bit of trouble with him. Saw him a couple of months later and asked him to please tell me if he was ever mad at me. He laughed. Kid was diagnosed with intermittent explosive disorder. Went on to be a good adult. He just kind of lost it that day. During lunch, if you picked up trash and turned it into the yard attendant, you would get a dime per piece. One kid did it religiously, every lunch, and was tormented and bullied the whole time. Kids would knock the trash out of his hands, push him over when he picked it up, call him all sorts of names. They were relentless. Then in junior year, he bought a '66 Mustang. Not an incident really, but I still have respect for that kid. This kid was doing pull-ups on a door frame in our wood shop, and some of his friends thought it would be funny to place a pipe bender under his ass. When he finished his pull-ups and dropped off the frame, the pipe bender went straight up his butt and tore his rectum open. Kid didn't graduate because he spent so much time in the ER, and now he has to shit in a bag. Someone called in a bomb threat to my middle school and elementary school. Instead of evacuating both buildings, we were in lockdown for 3 hours and they condensed all of us in the middle school. We later evacuated to the high school, only like 300 feet away, and were stuck there for hours because our parents couldn't get to us. All of our phones were taken because they didn't want us giving information, so there were like 700 white mums in Suburbans simultaneously having a heart attack trying to get to the school. We learned later they called this into almost every school in the area. There was a robbery at a Bank of America while the cops were preoccupied. If you like the content, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to hit the like button.